What is up, diehards? Wes Monell in the building for AWOL Sports, kicking back, watching this Lakers-Nuggets Game 1 in the NBA playoffs. Today, going to talk about my fantasy football team heading into Week 2. I know we just watched Thursday night football between the Bengals and the Browns, but the rest of Week 2 coming up this weekend. Let's talk about some of my fantasy woes. Maybe you can relate and shoot me some Twitter questions or whatever your takes are on anything I bring up here. And if you have any questions, would love to help you. I got to tell you, so in one of my leagues, everything you're about to hear, it's on the same team. You can't make this up. And all right, here we go. Miles Sanders. So that was my second round pick. He missed Week 1. Marlon Mack, a later round pick, but I kind of targeted him because I figured he'd be the starter at the beginning of the season. I liked the Colts schedule. I didn't think Jonathan Taylor, even if he had showed out, would take the full load immediately. So I kind of like getting Marlon Mack late in the draft. Moving on, I did go with Leonard Fournette when he was still on the Jacksonville Jaguars before he got cut. Problem is, he went to a team where I drafted that running back, Ronald Jones of the Buccaneers. So I had both guys. I feel a little out of luck there with these 4 running backs here. I know Miles Sanders plays tomorrow, Max out for the year. Who knows what's going to transpire between Rojo and Fournette in Tampa Bay. You got to think some sort of a timeshare, maybe not, as it pertains to Fournette taking over. And then you get over to the pass catchers. George Kittle's out for the week. Granted, the 49ers may not need him against the Jets, but it is what it is. They're 0-1. They want to get in that win column. He's got a sprained knee. Usually takes 2 to 4 weeks for the average person to get through. I get it. Athletes, especially one like George Kittle and the doctors and the recovery and all that, we'd think perhaps it'd be quicker sooner than later. His teammate Debo Samuel, I thought, was a steal later in drafts as well. Starts the year on IR, as does Alshon Jeffrey, also on my roster. You know, they didn't put him on the PUP list, and I knew he'd miss a game or two. So that is the one that I kind of figured. But losing Duke Johnson Week 1, not the end of the world, not a guy you're going to play anyway. I actually picked him up in all my leagues because although I'm a David Johnson fan, I'm just playing the odds here. You got to pick your spots to gamble and your spots for handcuffs at some point. And the odds that I'm playing, David Johnson, not likely to play 16 games. You know, I know Duke Johnson hasn't been that guy to get a full load due to injury or anything like that. But Week 1, we saw he was involved in some 2-back sets. I'm still going to hold on to Duke Johnson. I'm not going to drop him. I think he's still a valuable piece in an offense that's going to use him because last year, Carlos Hyde, first year of his career, over 1,000 yards. So that's a valuable position, running back in general in fantasy football, but also for the Houston Texans, who's not to stray off too far here, but their offensive line kind of gets too much shade. And look, last year, Deshawn Watson had top 10 time in the pocket. Last week, he had a whole second longer to throw the ball than Patrick Mahomes, yet he was pressured, quote-unquote, double the time than Mahomes at 36%. You might have heard me bring that up last week doing the Week 1 takeaways. But, yeah, like, there's, some development still going on with Deshaun Watson, even though he got the contract. There's still development going on with Pat Mahomes, Carson Wentz. These guys all got their big contracts. Doesn't mean they're not great, like today level great. I'm not going all time, nothing like that. But today, these are 3 of the top 5 to 6 guys you're going to start a franchise with across the board. But, I say all that to circle back around. Duke Johnson, Houston. Look, just said that Carlos Hyde had his first year over a K in his entire career. So that offensive line's a little bit better than the perception is. And moving on to some other players on my team, A.J. Brown out for the week. Yeah, it's tough. I see people racing to get Corey Davis. if not after week 1 and cracking the triple-digit mark. They did, with the news that A.J. Brown may not play. It's official he's out. It's another loss, man. But look, I wouldn't rush to Corey Davis this week. He's playing the Jaguars. On paper, you might be like, yeah, it looks good. He led the team in targets, even if he was tied. He tied for the lead in targets last week, and he's got a rapport with Tannehill. I get that. He's a former first-round pick, had a good week. He's going up against C.J. Henderson, who graded out excellent last week in his debut. And, man, he did his thing against T.Y. Hilton, even though he has Phillip Rivers, a better quarterback than last year than that was thrown to him. T.Y. Hilton, didn't have the greatest game of his career. C.J. Henderson, I believe it was like an 84 or 86 grade on PFF. I'm going to pull that up. I did bring it up on the week 1 takeaways, but I like to give you an accurate answer right now since, it's on the brain and we're talking about it. And, yeah, it was 84.2. 84.2 for a corner, man. So that's outstanding. And then touch back up because I did pick up Paris Campbell. The Vikings, they got shredded by Aaron Rodgers. So this is another veteran quarterback here in Phillip Rivers. Last week, back to C.J. Henderson, he only allowed, and I didn't look at how many snaps he covered T.Y. Hilton, but I see T.Y.'s stat line, 9 targets, only caught 4 of them for 53 yards. So, I temper expectations greatly when it comes to Corey Davis here this week. And there's a couple other receivers on this same team here. We've talked about Miles Sanders, Marlon Mack, Rojo, Fournette, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, A.J. Brown, Alshon Jeffrey, Duke Johnson. I can't make this up. And I got 2 guys playing through injuries, Jarvis Landry, Jalen Reagor. And last year, I thought it was going to stay last year, but I had 8 receivers in and out of the lineup due to injuries and suspension. I had Antonio Brown, unfortunately. But, I thought I'd just shrug it off, New Year and all that. Not even happening, man. I've made 25 moves. 25 moves for this one fantasy team. Just to field starters. Like, it's been ridiculous. But it is what it is. Hey, I'm glad that I do other things too. I play daily fantasy. I throw in my bets and my parlays every week. I'm just a diehard. You probably are too if you're listening to this or you're interested. Holler at your boy. When it comes to parlays, I usually only bet on underdogs, to be honest with you. You win more money that way. So, and if you're not familiar, parlays when you bet on 2 or more games, but you have to hit them all. You combine those. And however many you combine, like, a lot of times I'll do like 7 to 12 teams. I'll throw them all on there and pick them to win straight up or against the spread, whatever I'm kind of looking at and feeling good about. And I've won sometimes. I've lost more times. It is what it is. It's the gamble. But, like, I put like $1 down for 12 teams to win, and I would have won like $300, something like that. So, it's worth it, If you think you're good at this stuff, give it a try. You can hit me up on Twitter or Facebook to see what I use if you'd like. If you want me to send you in a direction that, feel comfortable that someone or someone you listen to actually uses a betting site, or go with whatever interfaces work with you, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever looks good and easy for you to navigate. You don't want to just pick up something because quote unquote everyone is doing it and then you join in and it's not for you. But there's the alternative, kind of like the FanDuel and DraftKings thing. They're both fairly simple, but just to throw out an example. And hey, all I gotta say, coming back to my fantasy team, last year redraft league, I did trade Christian McCaffrey. I flipped him in a 4th round pick for Phillip Lindsay and a 1st. So, I was on the outside end of the bubble looking at that playoff picture, and I saw my player matchups. I wasn't really feeling it. And so I I found a way to acquire 2 first-round picks. I wound up going with Pat Mahomes and Saquon Barkley. My home league, 8 teams, but we played 2 QBs and 3 running backs. Also 3 receivers, a tight end, and our flex spot is a receiver tight end option. So due to our scoring and bonuses, because we do points per completion, points per carry, we give points for everything in that league. I am the commissioner in that one, been running that with my close group of friends since forever. Like, really, I've been playing fantasy since 1999. This league, I think this league might have been going on since 05 or 07, this one in particular. But yeah, so, we have 2 defenses in that league, 6 IDP, and hey, you'd hate me for adding a second kicker, but what the hell is what it is. We have ample room in the league to expand starters like that, so we have multiple QBs, extra running back, extra wideout in the lineup, extra defense, extra kicker, and IDP. So, we count as many stats as we're able to. I don't do any of those half points or 0.1, 0.2, none of that. That's not for me. I played in leagues like that. Auction leagues are interesting. I like them too. I have the most fun. I've done Dynasty and all that. I have the most fun in redraft. You kind of have to bring it every year, bring it in the draft, manage it week to week. No laurels to really rest on. So I just find it more challenging. Not to throw shade on any other league. I love fantasy football, all versions, all league types. It's fun, man. It's fun. I'm all about it. I've been all about it, as you've heard, 22 years now. That's the first time I've actually thought and said it out loud. 22 years into fantasy football. Wow, I'm getting old. Wow. All right, let's see. Yeah, there's something else I want to talk about. I guess you can take away some fantasy football out of it. It's more so reality, but, if you're talking stats, of course, it correlates. I want to talk about some quarterbacks that could be locks to throw over 600 times this season. Carson Wentz threw 607 pass attempts twice so far, including last season. Maybe he shatters that this year. 40 passes a game, that's 640 in a season. Last week, he threw 42 times. Miles Sanders was out. Right guard and right tackle were out. Receivers limited. Sounds just like last season. Didn't really have a run threat. So he threw the ball out, even when they had a lead. To their detriment, in reality football, they lost that lead, and they were one-dimensional, and Carson Wentz had a tough day overall. There's just more to the story there. Take that from an Eagles fan. The other QB we just watched last night, rookie Joe Burrow. Who doesn't like him after 2 games? Yes, there's rookie moments and mistakes. Man, but you can see it. You can see it. You don't see what Joe Burrow's doing, the flashes, the glimpses, the drives that he has. Like, I loved his last drive of week 1, even though it resulted in OPI on AJ Green, and they wound up kicking a field goal that they missed, and then they got the L from it. And he just didn't quit last night either. Thursday night football, prime time. Man, you can just see it in Joe Burrow. And if you don't, or if you're like, nah, I'd love to watch some film with you, really, I invite you. So hit me up on Twitter or Facebook. We'll do some screen share. But back to Burrow and his stats. He's thrown 48. I'm not sure that was 48. I think I have a let me fact check this here. I think it was 38, to be honest. In week 1, how many throws he had. Let's see here. Yeah, it was 36. Okay. Yeah, I knew this was a typo. But yeah, so week 1, Joe Burrow throws 36 attempts. Last night he throws 61 more. Math says it's 97 total in 2 games, an average of 48.5. That's probably going to be the case all year, and why not? Let him air it out. Let him learn. I know the O-line thing, but hey, they got wideouts there. Maybe get the ball out quick, avoid some of the hits and pressures that are unnecessary. something that this veteran quarterback struggled to do last year. Matt Ryan, he threw more than 600 times the past 2 seasons. Week 1, he helped 3 receivers top 100 yards on 54 attempts. I'd consider him a lock again. I know they played from behind, but whether they're in the game or playing from behind, I see Matt Ryan doing it for 3 straight years, man. We just mentioned, so those guys, Wentz, Burrow, Ryan, they're 3 of the 10 QBs that have thrown 40 passes in a game in this short season so far. There's 7 more. Of those 7, Jared Goff probably gets there for the second year in a row, over 600 attempts. Tom Brady did so in 2 of the last 3 seasons. If I had to bet, considering Brady did it last year with a lackluster core, so to speak, and Jameis Winston, the guy he replaces, did so last year. Bruce Arians, just got to let him throw. It seems like another lock here. So that's Wentz, Burrow, Ryan, Goff, and Brady. The 5 guys I would think finish with the most pass attempts. I'd imagine Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray continue airing it out to their targets, so I do expect them to land in the top 10. Looking on this list, Daniel Jones, for better or worse, another candidate to make this list here. And then 2 vets that are capable, but I don't think they hit the mark. Not this year. They might be close, might be 550 and up. Ben Roethlisberger and Matthew Stafford. They've been there. They're vets. I think those 2 teams would benefit greatly by balancing things out a little bit more than usual. Both these guys missed time last season, extensive time. Capable, sure, absolutely. I don't see them quite getting to 600. And of course, with great throwing comes great exposure to a season full of hits. Got to keep that in mind. And then glancing at recent history for a lot of pass attempts, to say the least. 2018, Andrew Luck threw 639 times. Ben Roethlisberger, holy cow, he threw 675 pass attempts. Him and Luck both did that 2018. 2017, Drew Brees, 673. Joe Flacco, 672. Wow, so we're getting a couple guys up there every year, it seems. Let's see. 2015, Phillip Rivers at 661. In 2014, Breeze at 659. And the year before, 2013, when Peyton Manning was still in action, he also had 659. Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot of passes. Wow. All right, well, let's see. Out of that bunch, that's Luck, Big Ben, Breeze twice, Flacco, Rivers, and Manning. So that's 6 QBs. Luck's retired, Peyton's retired, and Flacco is no longer a starter. Okay. And then so we got Ben. We talked about him being a candidate for it. I don't think he quite get there. I don't think Breeze is going to get there ever again, actually. And then, the Colts better hope Rivers doesn't get there. That could be a lot of turnovers. Let's see. All right, let's shift over to the wide receivers and tight ends. So there were 6 players that caught every pass that went their way in week 1. Tyler Lockett, 8 targets, 8 catches, 92 yards. Man, I bring it up probably every time I bring up Tyler Lockett. He was second in the league in 2019 in catch rate. This guy, him and Russell Wilson, they have that rapport. He has sticky hands, polished routes, gets the job done. Tyler Lockett. And Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 targets, 6 catches, 69 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Big year for him. This is Juju's opportunity in a contract year. His best year was with Antonio Brown, where he went off over 100 catches and all that, his career year up to this point in time. this is a big year for Juju. Contract year, wide receiver 1. Big Ben is back. Let's see what you got. Travis Kelsey, tight end, making this list. 6 targets, 6 catches, 50 yards and a score. Mr. Reliable. Another tight end, TJ Hawkinson. He was one of 2 players that I brought up this offseason that I saw so many plays left out on the field, but I don't bring that up with any negative connotation. He was a rookie. It's tough for tight ends to translate their game. They're asked to do a lot. It's a tricky position. And, TJ Hawkinson, in the absence of Kenny Golladay, catches all 5 balls for 56 yards, also scores a touchdown. And I think he's in store for a similar week, if not a better week in week 2, where Galladay's out yet again. And then a couple wide receivers. Sterling Shepard, 6 catches, 47 yards, caught all of his targets. And Keelan Cole caught all 5 of his for 47 yards, scored a touchdown for Jacksonville. And then, if you look here, Stephon Diggs, Dallas Goedert, and Jarvis Landry caught 8 of 9 targets. That's sensational. Those are chain movers right there. And, oh, wow. DeAndre Hopkins, we know he had the huge game. But we're looking at efficiency. Caught 14 of 16 targets. Ridiculous. First game in a new offense with a new quarterback. Ball's out of control, man. Talk about a player with a chip on his shoulder. I actually thought I saw slightly slowed down DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe played through some injury. Whatever it was. I'm not going to get hyped about one week, one game on any player. But it's a good sign for a guy you're used to seeing these things from in DeAndre Hopkins. All right. I like this one. Creating separation. So here's the top 10 players in week 1 at creating separation. Number 1. We'll go number 1 to 10. We'll give shine to the top guys first. Demarcus Robinson of the Chiefs. And, yeah, he did get open all day. Got a touchdown called back. They re-signed him in the offseason. Greg Ward of the Eagles was number 2. Slot receiver. He actually does play a little bit outside because they just don't have enough bodies there. Alshon Jeffrey's not in the lineup. Jalen Reagor has that torn labrum that he's playing through. Deshaun Jackson's limited, and John Hightower did not look good in his debut. It is what it is. I'm not going to harp on John Hightower. I'm just sharing what I had seen. And then J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, second-round pick of the Eagles last year, so that's the Eagles receiving core. We talked about Wentz earlier and how there's more to the story. Greg Ward, on the other hand, he's doing his part, and he's really earning his way into, being their most reliable wide receiver here. And speaking about reliable and slot, that's Cooper Kupp. Just got the extension a couple weeks ago. Didn't have the biggest week 1. I'm not sure if how much he was nursing his ankle. That was whether it was sprained or sore, whatever they wanted to say about it. I do know I did see this separation here. He had 3rd most in the league. Goff missed him on a play downfield. Still made a good play by tucking in and running for a few yards, getting a first down. But he could have had a big play if he had pulled the trigger to Cooper Kupp, who might have taken something in for 6, if not a big gain. Big fan of Cooper Kupp, obviously. He's on my fantasy team. Number 4, Noah Fant. Monday Nighter, where Cortland Sutton wasn't around, but, Fant, whatever. Not trying to disrespect him. I think it's Noah Fant, but hey, sometimes I don't really know. All right. So, but yeah, he worked with Drew Lock at the end of last year, where they went 4-1 with Lock at the helm, and they're expecting a year 2 breakout from him. And they did draft 2 wide receivers this year: Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. Sutton will be back, but they're still going to rely on Noah Fant. Yeah, they really are. And he did his thing as a route runner, as a receiver in week 1 against the Titans. Number 5, Keelan Cole. He came up in our list here. for players that caught everything that went their way. He's also here in creating separation, so no wonder he caught every pass. Gardner Minshew was managing the game. He made a few good throws in their Week 1 upset against the Colts. Keelan Cole clearly was doing his thing. It's pretty cool to see. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp's teammate, on this list as well at number 6 for the Rams. He led them in receiving the other day in the win Sunday night against the Cowboys. Interesting to see, though, here. While we're on Kupp and Woods, they do play the Eagles this weekend. Darius Slay, he shadowed Terry McLaurin, 5 for 61. So we'll see if Robert Woods can go north of those numbers or if it's a Cooper Kupp day. Woods also just getting an extension today. And then Henry Ruggs, number 7 on this list, Oakland Raiders, followed by Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant's teammate. But what's interesting is Ruggs and Jeudy both drafted wide receivers in the first round. Might have been back-to-back picks in the first round, if I recall correctly. And they're in the same division, AFC West, both making this list here, creating space for the quarterbacks getting the rock. Number 9, Marquise Brown. This guy is pretty good. He's really doing his thing, not just living off the last name and not just living off a nickname of Hollywood either. You can tell he puts in the work, and he's got something cooking there with Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP. And then number 10, Drew Sample, tight end. You're saying who, but Drew Sample was a second-round pick last year, second-round pick of the Bengals, of Cincinnati. He'll have a chance with Joe Burrow, who's going to throw a lot. Unfortunately, CJ Uzoma tore his Achilles. I can certainly relate to that. I did so, 6 months ago now. Playing basketball for me, for CJ. He does it on Thursday Night Football, unfortunately. Drew Sample's going to get an opportunity here. He had 7 catches for 45 yards on Thursday Night Football on 9 targets. And most of that work came after replacing CJ. So there we go. Drew Sample's got something to build on there. And all right, before we cut out, we'll talk about one more thing here. The 11, and you'll see why in a second that I just didn't limit it to 10. The 11 backs that face the most 8-man boxes in Week 1. Number 1, Aaron Jones. And he's one of my favorite running backs in the game. I did steer clear of him. If he were to fall in fantasy drafts, I probably would have picked him up. But I steer clear of Aaron Jones because of that situation. Not so much Jamal Williams, even though that is another body that was productive in 2019. But A.J. Dillon. They drafted him fairly high for a running back. And, you just never know. With Aaron Jones in a contract year, you hear these rumors about contract extension talks. Look, until I see something done, I'm not going to assume anything. But love Aaron Jones. I think he's the best running back in the NFC North, top 7 in the league, depending on your preference. I think he's up there. He runs between the tackles, goes outside, receiver, and blocks too. I mean, there's a lot to like about Aaron Jones, and he's becoming a durable and reliable player, a foundational player in Green Bay, at least for the moment. Number 2, rookie Cam Akers. I'm pretty sure here Dallas looked at it as this is a rookie, didn't have an off season. And, there's a thing about applying pressure to Goff and making him beat you a little bit. But you would have to think, whether you're a Cowboys defense or any defense going against a rookie running back, especially this early in the season with the off season that was very different than usual, he's probably in there to run. So I understand that one there. Former Ram running back, number 3 on this list, Todd Gurley, faced the 3rd most 8-man boxes. And it kind of showed. I mean, he had to grind out some yards in Week 1. But and I know that Seattle, they got up. They had a good second half, and Atlanta had to play from behind. They wound up with 3 receivers getting over 100 yards. But, if you study the film, the Falcons, the right side of their O-line did not play well last year, even though they were both drafted in the first round. They had some growing up to do. It's all good. Uh, there is such a thing as player development. But Todd Gurley, 14 carries, 56 yards, and a score. That's an average of 4 per carry. And he did have a couple catches, not much there, only a yard, more like a bailout. But yeah, I mean, I think that's good usage for Todd Gurley. I would expect a little bit more in some other games that they're actually in them instead of playing from behind. Uh, and the Seahawks showed him respect. Seattle, they were used to playing the Rams with Todd Gurley for a handful of years, and they're quite familiar with the guy. So they were on the other end of it when Todd Gurley was playing at a high elite level. Number 4 was Peyton Barber. I can tell you this much. Peyton Barber, he's the veteran of the group. J.D. McKissic's not the veteran of the group. It's not Antonio Gibson, the rookie. And, the Eagles, that's kind of how they try to make offenses one-dimensional. They stack the box, even if they're not blitzing. They try to take away the run first. And you've seen it. They haven't had the cornerbacks to really slow you down the field, especially on double moves. And yeah, so they stacked the box against Peyton Barber, who got most of the second half work for Washington in a comeback victory. And then Sony Michel, uh, understandable. I mean, Cam Newton's in the backfield, so you're either going to contain or have an extra guy in the box as a spy. And Sony Michel, they're going to run the ball with Cameron Sony, and you would think the only other option on offense in general when you're looking at the Patriots is a short to intermediate pass to Julian Edelman when he gets open. So, yeah, I can understand. I can understand the Dolphins stacking the box in general against the Patriots, let alone Sony Michel. Number 6 was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and interesting. He did a lot of work, but I'm all that goal line work, they were trying to boost up his confidence. Kansas City was, understandably so. Yeah, they had the game in hand, and you want to get the kid a touchdown, some tough carries in there, taste some success inside where it's tough, and inside the 20, inside the 10. You know, uh, be interesting to see how teams play the Chiefs moving forward, especially if Tyreek gets healthier and is the Tyreek Hill we know. There's Travis Kelsey. We talked about Demarcus Robinson and, being first in week 1 and creating separation. So I wonder how often teams can really stack the box against Edwards-Helaire. Number 7, the future Hall of Famer, cut just a couple weeks ago, signed shortly after that, Adrian Peterson to the Lions. Wasn't DeAndre Swift who, had a chance to catch the game winner, ran a corner route running out of the backfield against the Bears. Didn't happen. Kerryon Johnson hasn't been the guy to take a hold of that backfield. Adrian Peterson comes in, and he leads the backfield week 1. The veteran that he is, the Lions very familiar with him, a career with Minnesota. So they had to go against him quite a bunch. So they know what he's capable of. We all do. And he ran for 93 yards. 93 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, had a few catches for 21 yards. So, yeah, that's, AP getting 17 touches on the day and facing the 7th most 8-man boxes. So that's nothing new for AP, to be honest. Number 8, Joshua Kelly of the Chargers. Look, it's Tyrod Taylor there now in a Chargers uniform on the field. It's no longer Phillip Rivers. So that was bound to happen to any running back, you would think, as it pertains to the Chargers. And, Joshua Kelly was a guy that, a rookie. We just talked about another rookie coming in, short camp, short off season, no preseason. You think he's going to run? And he did. It's unfortunate that Justin Jackson's doubtful for week 2. He's got a quad injury. But, hey, we're looking at Kelly. He rushed 12 times for 60 yards and a score. Pretty damn good way to start your career. 5 yards a carry, week 1 win over the Bengals. Even if they did escape, Kelly looks like he did his part, and he did handle multiple inside the 10 carries. So that's gonna give you some more 8-man looks. And yeah, it looks like Joshua Kelly is gonna have to be an impactful player as a rookie for the Chargers. Number 9, Josh Jacobs had himself a day, man. 3 touchdowns. He ran all over Carolina. I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs. He's the key to the Raiders here. They can make a push for a 6 or 7 seed, I think. I had him just missing the cut, to be honest. But, hey, you know how this league goes. The ball bounces your way once or twice extra. That's another game or two. I had him at 7-9 in my preseason predictions. If that ball does bounce their way and they have a little bit of momentum, if they can weather the storm the first half of the season, kind of a brutal schedule. They got the Saints this week. Then, I'd be more optimistic. I'll have more of a silver lining about the silver and black. So, but hey, Jacobs, he was on the injury report this week with an ankle issue, but he's practicing in full. The Raiders aren't concerned. They say he's fine. He ran 25 times for 93 yards, add another 4 catches for 46. This guy had, what is that, 139 yards on 29 total touches. He's not going to slow down, at least not early in the season. Jacobs is going to continue doing his thing. He's going to continue seeing 8-man fronts. And then number 10 and 11, they're from the same team. That's why I put 11 on this list as well. Kareem Hunt at number 10, Nick Chubb at number 11, Cleveland Browns. Look, this is the best backfield in all of football when you're looking at 2 guys, when you're looking at a tandem. These 2 guys can start on a lot of teams individually. Man, I know we saw a split week 1 despite getting blown out by the Ravens. But look, we saw Nick Chubb on Thursday Night Football look like the guy we saw last year, which looks like a top 5 running back in this league. Kareem Hunt once looked like that as well. So this is dangerous and just a dangerous team. They're going to give both of these guys the ball. Kareem Hunt on Thursday night, 10 carries, 86 yards, and a score. He had a couple catches as well. Man, this is just such a good backfield. I think Cleveland's going to have their chance to sneak in as a wild card this year. I do have them snagging the 7th seed for the record. But yeah, back to Nick Chubb. He had 22 carries, 124 yards, a pair of scores. Man, I'd be happy if I'm the dog pound. They have a real chance here to do something. So, yeah, Baker Mayfield's going to have a lot of play action opportunities. That means, he'll have some chances to hit OBJ. But they're going to need a healthy Jarvis Landry. And finally, they're going to need to look and incorporate some Austin Hooper into there. That's why they signed him, right? But I'm looking at, if you heard the other episode the other day, the end of the week 1 takeaways, we also gave a week 2 preview. It was Drew LaQuesta, my buddy that joined me, another analyst. And, we each gave a player, an under-the-radar player, not really a guy that's like there that you know about. But the under-the-radar player I gave you was Harrison Bryant. I did say he may not be someone that makes noise this week, next week. Maybe not a lot this year. I like the situation for him. You can check that out if you're interested there. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening, kind of empathizing with me and maybe even feeling me on the fantasy football injury front. That's tough, man. Tough start to the season. Hopefully yours has been a little bit healthier. Man, I want all of you to win a championship. If you won one before, cool. Good luck getting back to the top of the mountain. If you haven't, I'm really rooting for you. All I got to say is just manage the heck out of your team. Drafts feel like they're big time, but if you can't manage a roster, start the right players, or get the right pickups, that draft isn't going to put you in the championship. So unless you have a player that's just having astronomical numbers like a Peyton Manning or Pat Mahomes getting 50 touchdowns in a season. For the most part, yeah, fantasy has a lot of luck in it, but it's how you manage your team. Hey, diehards, I'd love to hear your week 2 questions on who to start for fantasy football. I'll do my best to help you out. I do have quite a resume in fantasy football. And then we talked about quarterbacks throwing over 600 times this year. I gave you 7, 8 players that I think will hit that mark. If there's a quarterback you think that is easily going to throw 600 times this season, I caution you. Look, Russell Wilson's only done it once in his career. And then I try to look at some older quarterbacks to see who really did and who, because we have this perception of certain guys throwing a ton, right? Well, Donovan McNabb, I say Russell Wilson's only thrown 550 plus attempts in a season once in his career. So I looked at another quarterback that I felt threw the ball a lot, played for Andy Reid, and happened to be McNabb. He threw 550 times plus once in his career in 11 years. And that one time was 571. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if Russell Wilson can do that, to be honest with you. Yes, I think he's elite, but more so on the back end. I think, I'm a smaller guy. I played basketball and some football, and but Russell Wilson's a stud. He's playing a tough sport, little bit smaller, and we see Drew Brees get a little arm fatigue, but we know Russell's got a better arm than Drew Brees. We know he's younger than that as well. But there's something that just tells me Seattle feels they've had to have that recipe of running all the time. I mean, I said Wilson's only done it one time, which means he hasn't hit the 600 mark in his career yet. And I'm trying to look here. I mean, he's only thrown 500 pass attempts 3 times. 3 times in 8 years. Doesn't mean he's not great. Doesn't mean he's not capable. I just question if he's dropping back that much and throwing that much. I question that as a runner he can stay as clean as he's been. He's so intelligent, and he's usually staying clean, avoiding hits, and he's clutch and the best red zone quarterback since he come into the league. So, but there might be something to it, I mean, Marshawn Lynch retired. Chris Carson, yeah, he stormed onto the scene, but this was a 7th-round pick. I know Rashad Penny was a first-rounder that hasn't really panned out. There was really no one proven in that backfield to command that type of work over Russell Wilson getting that pass work. So I'm just bringing that up. But, yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on Russell Wilson too. I'm not trying to down a guy that is elite, that could be a Hall of Famer, that is a Super Bowl champion, and this year is going to be an MVP candidate. All right, diehards, hope you enjoy the weekend and the week 2 action. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you next week.